friends, at this time we are going to begin the funeral services for Janet A. Swig. If you have a cell phone or a pager, we would ask for you to take a moment, please, to turn it off or place it in the silent mode. And for those of you joining us online, we welcome you, and we thank you for being here for the family during this time. Officiating today's services will be Cantor Jennifer Frost and Rabbi Jason Fenster. Thank you.
Shamayim va'aretz. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan, shomer Yisrael. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan, shomer Yisrael. Esaheina el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri, me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon at night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever.
Friends, we are gathered this morning to do something that is hard and to do something that is sacred. to gather together for memory, to honor and celebrate the life of a person who was so deeply loved by so many, who lived a life of integrity and community. And our job in this moment is, on the one hand, to bear witness to a story, a life, a legacy. And our job is to remember, lizkor. And that Hebrew word remember, zecher, it doesn't just mean to remember, it also carries the connotation of mention, as if the word knows that memory doesn't just live in our minds or in our hearts, but memory must live on our lips. And so we begin today to tell and share stories, to speak of memory. And some memories may continue to flow, and we'll be reminded of something new in another moment. And whether it's a memory that you share with Janet's family, or just call up a friend about that time or that moment. The little ones, the little stories you've told 1,000 times, we tell them again and again and again. And the big moments, the ones that changed your life, that you carry with you, we share those stories. And when we do, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the memory, the mention of this righteous woman will surely be a blessing. And sometimes memory brings a tear. Sometimes memory is hard. And when we enter into moments of deep emotion, of truth in our tradition, we turn to the Psalms, to biblical poetry. In particular, in this moment, we turn to the 23rd Psalm. We're familiar with it. It speaks of the valley of shadows. Maybe that's where you sit right now, in a valley of shadow, of darkness. That's okay. Sit there for a little. But the psalm reminds us that though we are in a spot, a place of darkness, we shall not fear. There is a straight path laid out for us. There is still water to sustain us. There is life and legacy and goodness and mercy and blessing that urges us, calls us out of darkness towards memory, towards light, towards life.
Adonai roi lo achsar binod deshayar bitzeni al mei menuchot yanaleini nafshi yashovei v'yashovei yancheini v'magelei tzadak yancheini v'magelei tzadak leman shemo gam ki elach Gates al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishanetecha heima yanachamuni ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorai dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kosi revaya ach tov v'chesed yirdafuni כל ימי חיי, כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, אדוני רואי לא אחסר.
We'll read together the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach. God has given and God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. And surely with Janet, God gave an incredible gift. A sister, mother, grandmother, a friend, a leader, a lover of tradition and community. Adonai lakach, God has taken. And there aren't words to describe what that feels like or the sorrow that brings. And nonetheless, Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach, we offer words of praise and blessing. Not to say that there's some meaning or purpose in the loss of a loved one, but to remind us that there is blessing, that even in the midst of loss, we can ground ourselves in something bigger or deeper than ourselves, that we might speak of memory, and that memory might be that blessing. So again, today we'll begin. We'll start to share stories, and the days, the weeks, the months, the year that follows will continue. We'll speak of memory, and memory will surely be a blessing.
I am so sorry for your loss. I am so sorry for our loss. Janet, she embodied everything that was good and beautiful and holy about a synagogue community, about this congregation, and the many congregations that she found herself in, loving and sustaining and holding. But to her temple family here, to us, she was a pillar, a giant. Goodness and holiness. And we stand with you and we mourn with you. And so we say with Proverbs, Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor who can find. She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and in dignity. And she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you, Janet, you excel them all. Janet Swig was born to Louis and Laura on the south side of Chicago. Carol, she was your older sister by 5 years. And you shared with me you didn't have an easy childhood. And while you might not have as many memories as you'd like of those early years, you remember that you both adored your father, and he kept your family together. He was your rock and your strength, and it was where Janet got her handiness from. And you know that your sister was your protector, and she took care of you. And as you said to me yesterday, it wasn't until you were adults that your relationship deepened and grew and a true friendship formed. Judaism was important to Janet and Carol's parents. They went to religious school, they were confirmed. In fact, your parents were active members of Sinai in Hyde Park, but they lived on the south side, so they drove to Hyde Park, and it was there where she met Stanley. She joined the Temple Youth Group, and he was the director. She was a bit on the older side, you told me, for this particular youth group, so Stanley encouraged her to join one for young adults rather than the one she was in, and so she did that. And it was only after she joined that youth group that he called to ask her out. Maybe an ulterior motive, maybe she wasn't really that old, who knows? You can find out more. They dated, he proposed to her at Buckingham Fountain, and they were married. Her husband trusts in her, so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. Janet and Stanley adored each other. He provided for her, he sustained her, he gave her a secure life, you told me. They bonded maybe over their difficult upbringing. They shared the same values and placed an emphasis on learning and education. They shared a love and a passion for Judaism and Israel. Stanley was deeply involved and committed to the Jewish community, and the Jewish community became their home no matter where they were. And they moved a fair amount. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, until Stanley's job brought them back to Chicago and brought them back to family. And Carol, you shared the Shabbos dinners, the Jewish holidays always celebrated in their home. And of course, her baked goods. No one could touch a candle to her baked goods, so you didn't even try. Her children rise up to bless her. Along the way, Paula was born, and then Adina. Janet was a wonderful wife and mother, you told me. Stan would go to work, and your mom, well, she kept the train moving, you said. She would do everything around the house, cooking, cleaning, but also that included anything that needed fixing, that needed painting, along with volunteering at school and volunteering at the temple. In fact, Paula, you said you didn't know that women typically didn't do what men did because your mom just did everything. She did it all. And she raised strong, independent, fierce women for as long as she could. And when Adina was diagnosed with MS at 21, she took on the role of caregiver, doing everything and anything for your sister. Her husband sings her praises. And as your father got older, she became a caregiver for him as well. You told me your dad would ask, "Where's Janet? I just want to be with Janet." There was a deep feeling of love and respect between them. And she knew that her life wasn't easy. She was a realist. And she would say it, "I'm a realist. I know how things are, and I know how to get things done." And she did. She was clothed in strength and dignity. She eventually went to work, becoming a legal secretary. In fact, she used to say she wished she had gone to law school. She would have made a terrific lawyer. And while she may not have fulfilled that dream, she took her learning seriously. She was a lifelong learner, always studying Hebrew, becoming adult bat mitzvah, attending any class she could, constantly learning new things. And of course, those of us that had the chance to study and to learn with her, we are better for it, for being in her presence and hearing her wisdom. She eventually moved to Brookdale because it was an active community. This is my favorite. She wanted to be included with the Withits. That's what she called them. It was the Withit people. And she found the Withits at Brookdale. She also found a Jewish community. And it was easy to drive to Temple. So we here at BJBE, we have been the recipients of her love. We have been the recipients of her intellect. We have formed deep friendships, and we have been the recipients of her volunteerism. She was a pillar of this community. I will say it over and over and over again. Her home was here. Paula, when you tried to get her to move to California to be with you, she would say, "But my Temple family is here. My Temple family is here." And the relationships that she had with so many of you that I look out into this congregation, they sustained and they nourished her. Her love and her sweet friendship with Mrs. B, Dolores, Terry, and Marilyn, playing mahjong even when she no longer could, making sure that she always came to services, coming to high holidays, lighting the candles on Yom Kippur. And Al, you were her angel. You really were. You had a special bond. She loved our Kol Shabbat service. She loved sitting next to you. And when she could no longer drive, it was you who picked her up and made sure that every Shabbat morning she could be here to pray with her beloved community. You were so kind and attentive to her, and it meant the world to Janet. And Paula and Carol wanted me to tell you how much it meant to them. Thank you. Her legacy, it is extraordinary. It just is extraordinary. And it is one of which to be proud, one of wisdom and kindness, strength and perseverance, determination and practicality. Don't dwell on what could have been, she would say. Move forward with optimism. Do your best and look for the good. Do for others. We owe it to the community to be the good in the world. That was her message all the time. We owe it to the community to be the good in the world. Stand up for what you believe in. This is our job now, to live her legacy. Many daughters have done valiantly. But you, dear Janet, you excel them all. May her memory be for a blessing. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. And in the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. And when you are weary and in need of strength, you will remember her. When you are lost and sick at heart, you will remember her. When you have joys to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live. For she is now a part of us as we remember her. I ask you all now to please rise for the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen B'Maromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, תחת כנפי השכינה, עם הקדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מחזירים. את נשמת חנה בת לב ולרה, שלחה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים, יסיריה בסתר כנפיו, לעולמים בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our own Janet Swig, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence and in the shadow of your wings. Let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, as we say together, Amen. Please be seated.
Friends, this concludes the services here at the synagogue. The interment and burial services will take place at Zion Garden Cemetery in Chicago. For those of you joining us in the funeral procession to the cemetery, please keep the following safety precautions in mind. Please make sure that your bright headlights and your four-way hazard flashes are on at all times. Please be sure to obtain an orange funeral safety sticker for your windshield, and we will be providing several of the cars throughout the procession with a magnetic orange flag to be placed on top of your car. Please do travel as close as safety permits to the car in front of you to avoid any gaps in our procession. For your own safety and security, I would suggest not speaking or texting while driving to the cemetery. And as we make our way through the various intersections, if the car in front of you goes through the intersection, please do proceed with caution, but do your best to follow that car in front of you, and feel free to use your horn liberally as we make our way through the various intersections. The family will be together and rejoining back here at the synagogue at BJBE from 3 until 7 today for Shiva, and just as a friendly reminder that masks are still required. The family has also asked that any memorial contributions in Janet's memory be made here to the congregation. At this time, I would ask everyone to please rise and stand in place as we escort the casket, the family, and the clergy from the sanctuary.